So, there we
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Listen, I hope you are ready to take control of your finances in 2024. Attention, women, wealth creators, husbands, wives, families. Are you ready to unlock your financial potential and take control of your future? Today, we're going to discover some of the secrets to financial success. We're going to harness our power, our profession, and we're going to give you some professional guidance to help you leverage just this fundamental tool that's going to form the cornerstone of your financial empowerment. I'm Saran Baker. I am one of your Millionaire Ladies Mob uh, podcast guests, and I am here today with Carmen K. Bernard and Aaliyah Sherrod, the healthcare queen. Ladies, check in. Let us hear you get your voice in the room so we can get this thing started.
Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
good
I'm
evening, good
Aaliyah
evening, good
Sherrod.
evening.
There's a delay. I'm Aaliyah Sherrod, the healthcare queen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really enjoy this topic about budgeting because, man, oh man, I needed it a few years ago. I'm pretty good now. So, welcome, everybody. Go, Carmen.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's the Millionaire Ladies Mob. I'm Carmen K. Bernard, and I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia. Budgeting is a good topic. It's a basic topic and always good to review. So I'm glad that we're going back to basics today and doing this. So welcome in the room. Listen, please like, share, follow us, and share this out. It might not be for you, but someone you know does need help. Thank you.
Yes, and if you are watching us live tonight, go ahead and say hello in the chat and put your name so we can acknowledge you because today is all about empowerment and empowering you and shaking off talking about a topic that may be a little blah to some people. And really, let's think about it. Who wants to sit around and talk about finances, especially if you out of finances or you can't figure out what it is? But the thing is that one of the things that all of us ladies on this panel, the Millionaire Mob group, what we agree to is that we weren't having these conversations at the dinner table. And so now as adults, we have to have them on YouTube so that we can get in the room and hear the conversations and stop doing what we saw our parents do, which it wasn't bad. They did what they knew how to do, which was get a good job, go to work, pay bills, and keep the cycle going, right? And then they could, and for some of us, our parents encourage us go to college first, get in debt, get a good job so you can pay your bills, so you can buy a house, so you can do all things, right? Right? The American dream has become the American nightmare, right? But we are really, really here to just bring you some joy, some loving energy from our all-female panel to really just help you to kind of get your mind around how you can be great with using a planning tool that's not supposed to be limiting and constricting that can help you leverage yourself to the future. So we're going to have some roundtable conversation. I'm going to throw some questions out to my ladies so that we can be engaged. And please drop a question in the chat if you have a question you're not sure about, right? And so, Carmen, give me some idea if, I never used a budget before, but I'm making pretty good money. I got a good government job. I'm in the DC area, so I got a good government job. I'm in a good GS-12, making about 85, 90,000. But I just, I get my money, I pay my bills, I do okay, but I don't use a budget. But what can I do? How can that help me be more successful?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to understand about budgeting is the importance of it, right? And the first thing I like to talk about is just financial awareness. Budgeting helps to provide a clear understanding of your financial situation, and it helps you to make informed decisions and, avoid unnecessary debt or overspending. So I think that's where I would start, like that, just understanding the importance of budgeting, because some people think that it's not really that important. Like you said, you're making 85, 90,000, you're paying your bills, you're not struggling, so you're good. But the problem is that you're also not planning, you're not goal setting. And you may now get to your future and realize, oh my God, I should have thought about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, number one is that financial awareness. The second thing, of course, I would say goal setting,
Mm.
right? And last but not least, I'm telling you, it's stress reduction. It reduce you don't have to you don't have to um get get to the point like I have some grown children, right? Some young adults, grown children, and they think that they're budgeting, you know,
Right, right, right.
but
In
then
your
they
head, it's all right here.
right, but then they say things like, "Mom, can you shoot me, $100? This thing just hit." Well, what happened to the budget,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, I did budget, but then this came in, so you're not really budgeting. So that's another thing, right? And you don't have to stress on. Sometimes they that's how they get in trouble because they're out here adulting and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to ask for help because then it may seem that they're not adults, right? It may seem that they don't have it together. And then they end up going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. So if you guys out there have experienced anything like this, listen, I didn't use a budget either when I was young. It was all right here. I mean,
Yeah.
I need a budget for, right? I
Right.
knew I only got $600 a month, unlike Saran with her 80,000. I only got that $600. I mean, a week, and I had to make sure that $600 work. Right. I'll give you a story real quickly. My husband and I, we were really, really young, and we had set some money down aside because we were going to the store. Hey, it wasn't like this now with you guys and your debit cards and
Right.
credit cash apps and pay by phone and all of that kind of stuff. Wasn't that if you had a cell phone, you were wealthy because it was in the car and it was this big thing. You couldn't pay for anything like that. But we put down the money and then we couldn't find it. We needed to go get some groceries. The money was nowhere to be found. We only had my daughter. She was helping us look for the money. We finally, exhausted, gave up. Don't you know when that kid fell asleep, we found the money in her Oshkosh Bagash
Little
overall.
I
pocket.
remember Oshkosh.
Now listen, that was an amazing story because who would have thought, we get the cash, we put it down, and that's not a thing now. Now we can't find our debit card. It's, stop, drop, and roll. Where is my debit card? Let me get my phone so I can turn it off, right?
Right.
But the thing is that even in this world, when we're talking about budgeting, people think it's so stressful. I heard a statistic earlier today. I was listening to Jay Shetty's podcast, and I forgot the guy. He runs the Minority Mindset podcast, and he was quoting that about 80% of people who make over $100,000 are still living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And as he, quoted that statistic, I thought to myself, I said, because they don't have any control over their money, right? Because we know we have it to cover it, and then we just kind of agree to stuff, and we never looked at the numbers. And so now we're spending and saving, and we spend the money, and then we find a place to start saving. And the next thing you know, we spend the savings, and then we never get to the part where we're able to take the savings we accumulate and invest it in something that's going to continue to grow much longer, right? And that really kind of comes to, when you start thinking about it. And I just threw that number out there just to think about it. I mean, you could be making $40,000 or $50,000 and you really don't know where your money goes. And we have a different situation when we get into the lower incomes, because we know they have to spend that. When the lower amount of money you have, you're spending most of your money on basic expenses because the cost of our basic expenses are astronomical, right?
Yes.
Just having somewhere to live could take your whole paycheck, and one flat tire could change, everything for you in a month and create a whole cycle of things you just did not want to have to experience. And so that's a different type of budgeting and discussion and planning and mindset shift to help them to learn and grow so that they can move to the next level. But, talk to me about why it makes sense, Aaliyah, to just track your income.
Well, when you are self-employed or you are not a W-2 employee, one of the main things that you have to do as a business owner is to make sure that you are tracking your expenses, making sure that you have set clear goals, what your money is going to do and what you want to do with that money. I find being a business owner, I have to make sure that there's payroll. We have to make sure payroll can be made every other week. That's one thing. So, as our budget, we have to pay bills. We have to have insurance. So, I'm going on the business owner route because
Right.
it's very stressful as a business owner. The employees have no clue that you're going through this. They have no clue. We have goals. We have financial goals that we want to meet at a certain time in our business ownership because there are certain things that we want to do, but we have to track every expense. We want to give bonuses. You want, and it's really important to understand as an employee, your employer is going through the same thing that you're going through. Most people don't think that. They think, oh, I work for them. They're rich. They have money. They have this. But if you look behind the curtain, they're doing the same thing. They have to look at their financial goals. How are they tracking their expenses?
Mm-hmm.
Is it realistic? Is it realistic to hire another person? Is it realistic to give a bonus? Is it realistic to offer the benefits that an employer has? Those are the things that an employer goes through. And I tell you, the stress level and the sleepless nights, if we didn't have a budget and we didn't know how much income was coming in, we would be in trouble. We would really be in trouble. And when you hire people, or let's say you want to expand, now you got to stand up. Here is your budget. And even if you are a hairdresser, you are still self-employed.
Absolutely.
What's your goal? Have you set your budget? I'm looking online today. There are women who are killing it in this industry. And what they're doing is that they're creating classes and courses where you can go to would do the new, back in the day, you'd sit in a person's barber chair or their chair and you get your hair done and then they give you the money and you go wherever you want to go. They didn't have to worry about it. But now it's all, you got to pay the booth rent. You got to do all this stuff. So as a business owner, the financial goals are so important in setting a goal and tracking those expenses. If you don't track it, you are really, really, really in trouble. Really.
And I love that you went the business route too, because a lot of times we don't think about, if we work for a small business, some of the sacrifices that maybe a small business owner makes to make sure that employees can get paid. I mean, I've heard stories of some of our colleagues, they pay their people first, right?
Yes.
And do whatever they need to do. And then one of Kayla in the chat said, sometimes it's harder to track your money with electronics because as soon as it hits the digits hits the account, it's like, oh, did I just have $500? Like, what happened to that money, right? And and she said and Kayla says, I had to tell a person, tell me she doesn't. I just had a person tell me she doesn't have a business because she's self-employed. Knowledge is power once applied. And that's true. And so some of us are solopreneurs and we're not getting to the point where we bought a job.
Right.
Instead of we building a business where other people can work for us. And then when we start talking about people who maybe you're not going to build a business, maybe that's not your thing, but you're going to work, but you can still own businesses. They're called owning stock. You can own a piece of a business, right?
Oh yeah.
But when you start talking about knowing where your income comes from, so if I calculate, I get $1,000 from this job, I'll get $500 from this job, I get $200 from this job, all right, I got $1,700. If that money comes in at 3 different times, right, then your budget and your payment should reflect when the money comes in and how you can manage it and paying out. And so I see it as a way to kind of manage yourself too, right? Because then we can go to like expenses, Carmen. And the thing is like, how do you think we could best use a budget to help us with expenses, either controlling them, managing them, letting them go high, letting them go low, or just give us some idea how taking a closer look at your expenses could be beneficial?
I am really glad that you went right here, right? Aaliyah started with the fact of, as business people, we definitely need a budget.
Mm-hmm.
But and even more so as business owners when the money is not coming in on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
You may go month one and not makes you may make $2,000-3,000. Month two, you brought in a 30,000 month. Month three, you didn't get zero money. Well, you don't know what's going to happen in month four and month five. I mean, we can project, but it's all, we're estimating. So
Mm-hmm.
when that, especially when that happens, we can't get $10,000 in and spend that $10,000 right now. As a matter of fact, most business owners, when they get that $10,000, it's already been spent.
It's
It's
already
already, they
committed.
have spent it already,
Yeah.
right? So it's absolutely important that we have a budget. I was just talking about this with my son, right? So most of my kids, they also have a business on the side, and my grandkids, but but we were talking, right? If you just because you have a $30,000 month this month, you had zero in month one and month two, then that's $30,000 over the past 3 months. You got to average it and make sure. So it's
Right.
absolutely important about the expenses and what you're going to spend that money on and how you allocate it.
Yeah.
For us, it brings it home for us, right? We are in the financial space. And there are times when we get paid what is called in advance. We will get a check for $2,000 or $3,000,
Don't be putting
and
my business in the street like that. That's all.
we got to put it in the street because
I'm just messing with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
we got to put it in the street because we're looking for people to help us. Listen, this is something good for you to do, but we also need to talk to you about the fact that if we pull in two, three, $4,000 this month, it's not party. Well, yeah, maybe a little bit, but we got to make sure. Remember that money needs to actually. You should actually divide it by 1/12, and this goes to this month, this goes to this month, this goes to this month. We won't talk about the bad part of the business because we want them to come in.
But there really is no bad part of the business.
Right,
Just think about it.
There's no bad part. But
Just think about it. When you're a business owner, also, you have to market. You can't just sit back and think people are just going to come to you. You got a budget. Put that in the budget. Most people don't think about, I have to spend a little money here and make money. And the more money you make, it's like the more people spend. And we gotta get out of that mindset and sit down with our budget and don't do it. Splurge every now and again. Like you said last week, Saran. She is planning a vacation every month. I love it. It has been on my mind. I love that. And you plan for it. Everything is, you know where you're going maybe till December. That's a budget. She's budgeted there. And that's because she needs that for herself. She needs that.
Well, and so the budget, and so even going back to that example, the purpose of the budget is not to stop you from living your life, right?
Of course
and
not.
Here's the thing, and we've said this, right? But I kind of want to retract a little bit. We say, oh, cut back on the coffees and this and that. But if you do the math, like we'll use the fancy coffee. We ain't naming nobody because they're not endorsing us yet.
Right.
So if you cut back the coffee that you buy every day, if you bought coffee every day, let's say it adds up. All 365, let's say it adds up to maybe $2,000. Well, and I hear people say, oh, that's money you could use to buy a house. Well, what house are you buying for $2,000?
Right.
Oh, no.
Right? What car are you buying for you can't buy a little kick-it car for $2,000, but
not this
really
time.
In the grand scheme of things, the budget isn't about stripping the joy out of your life. Right?
Of course not.
The budget is to show you what you have coming in, what you have going out, and it allow you to redirect what you have going out to things that you said are more important to you. Instead of, and I'll use myself as an example because y'all know I've been on the sick and shut-in list. So I was on food delivery. I won't say the name of that app either, but on food delivery for like a month or two. But when I looked at my bill, I said, I could have had a better meal. Amount of money, right? Because for me, it's like I would rather have fine dining for that amount of money. Right now, it was used well because it was necessary at the time, but it's not something that I would continue. And so when we think about our expenses, when you see them on paper, that gives you a chance to make a new decision. And because and running from seeing what you have on paper doesn't change the fact that those things exist. If you want to learn to pay your debt down, you got to write it down and put out a plan. I don't care if it's the snowball method, the avalanche method, the throw a bunch of money at it method, the plan, the good plan that we will put you in for debt elimination. You still have to write it down and see it. And then we go to the psychology of the budget, because a lot of times the psychology is, if I do a budget, I won't enjoy work. I won't get to enjoy my life because I'll have to follow this budget. Well, here's the reality. If you have goals and you have things you want to do, there may be some short-term sacrifice to get to what you want to do. What we say in the business world, those of us who are business owners and doing things, we say live like no one else so you can live like no one else.
There you go. That's the word.
Right.
That's
so
the
for a
word.
little while, we're living like nobody else, because guess what? We're putting money aside to our businesses. We're reinvesting the money we make in our business for the first 3 to 5 years in order to make it profitable. But at the end of the day, I know I told Aaliyah I'm traveling at least once a month. But guess what? In that traveling, it's business travel that I'm going to make sure I have some fun while I'm doing business, to combine what I love doing with what I love doing.
Wonderful.
Exactly. I like that. I like that. But you know what? The tracking of tracking your expenses, right? Tracking your spending. Basically, that helps us to identify some loopholes, some things that we might not have even realized, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't even know how much we're spending on something. So when we track, that helps it. And I also want to kind of go back a little bit, even to people with W-2s thing. Most people look at their salary and they say like this: I make $80,000 a year. Mm-hmm. But do you bring in $80,000 a year, mm-hmm. right? The first thing that you're doing is paying taxes, which is the reason why you should join us, by the way. I'm gonna come back to that in a second.
We'll come back to that.
I'll come back to that. But you are paying taxes. You are paying for, you might be putting away some money for health insurance, paying for health insurance, paying for all sort of incidental things that's coming out. What is the net that you're bringing home? Mm-hmm. And that's what you have to budget on. So it's not 80,000, it's on that net. And then one of the other things when we're tracking expenses that many of us miss is expenses that are not normal. They're not reoccurring like monthly, right? We don't think about expenses such as car registration. I don't know, it's different states do it different ways and stuff like that. But here in Georgia, I think they switched it now a little bit, depending on the year of your car. We used to have to come up with a big amount of money to pay once a year for your car, right? Your property tax or whatever it is. We don't think about car repairs. We don't think about that because it's not something that is something that's ongoing. We don't think about that. We don't think about maintenance of the home when something is going to happen. We don't think about that, right? And then all of a sudden we're like, it's an emergency, but is it really? It was expected. We knew it was coming. Guess what we don't think about? Christmas. Christmas is coming every single year at the same time, right? And we don't think about that so that we can plan for it, so that we can know. And then we end up in bigger trouble because now we're scrambling, and because we haven't planned and we're just shopping. What is the word? Help me out here. We're just going and get whatever it is because this person, that person, this person, that person, because we haven't planned for these things. Mm-hmm. So not because it's not on our budgets not on our spending every single month, we do need to think about it. And that's the reason why we should actually look at this, not in terms of monthly, but actually in terms of yearly, right? At least quarterly, but definitely yearly.
And you know what? Before you know it, it's going to be December again. I'm looking. I have something that I need to do in July, so I'm looking forward to something in July. And I start counting. It's like it's almost February right now. It'll be July before I know it. And so we have to think about the time. I do by year. I do by year. The older you get, you do by year. Now, when you're young, you're like, I wish I was 20. I wish I was 21.
You do it by my next party.
And now, I think about, I review and I adjust my budget. I look at it, will I have the same income? You have to sit down and think about that. And there are tools and apps that people use. I haven't been very successful with those. I use an Excel spreadsheet. I know that's kind of old school. I add up everything that's major. I put it all in a column. It all comes at the bottom. This is what I have to pay. This is the minimum. This is my recurring every month that I have to do. And I go into my bank account and make sure that there are things that I haven't missed. Because even $40 or $50 here could kind of throw me off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then that way I know if I take a trip back to California, because I try to do that every month, I take a trip back to California. Do I drive or can I fly? I babysit. I babysat.
The babysit.
I love my babies. I miss them so, and they were so much fun. But I have to budget that because it gets expensive. Now, gas here, before it was like $4.99 a gallon. I paid $2.99 for gas. I was so excited.
Moving on up.
I was so excited. And so things like that, and how much does it take me on a tank of gas? And I do love to drive. I really, there are a lot of things here in Arizona that I want to do and want to see. There's so many sites to see, and I'm going to start budgeting for that because while I'm working, like during the day, when I get up in the morning, my feet hit the ground, I'm working. Yeah. I'm working. And then when I go and I relax, I try to relax. And I don't think about the budget. I don't think about what I need to do. I wake up the next morning and I go back. I look at my budget and I check my budget every day. I don't know if everybody does that, but I check and make sure I didn't overspend the day before or, and make sure things got paid, because I feel like if I miss something, I don't want anything to happen on my credit. I don't want this, because credit is very important to me. I don't want anything to happen to my credit. And I look at my credit score. I can't even figure out credit because you pay something off, your credit score goes down. It's like crazy, but that's on another subject. So planning is really important for me. And I make sure that my budget, I can keep doing what I like to do. And I'm a hoarder when it comes to supplies. The pandemic taught me that I need to have supplies at all times in my home. And so I kind of overdid it when COVID hit. But now I have the supplies. I could last for a few months. I have emergency equipment. I have all that stuff. And I budgeted as things started happening. I just started budgeting, get this, put it away, put it in the garage, set it aside somewhere so that if the lights go out, I'm covered. If something happens, I'm covered. If we need water, I've got it. So now we didn't have to think about that before. Now we have to think about that because it might not just be you. You might need to take care of your family. So you got to budget for that. Yeah. I didn't mean to go off on that COVID thing, but that's what.
Listen, I love it because all of it matters, right? Because at the end of the day, we have all kinds of people who will watch this live and watch the replay. And the thing is at the end of the day, the biggest thing behind the budget is why are you budgeting? Mm-hmm. Because I know if you get into a place where maybe things are kind of mundane, everything's like you're kind of in like ordinary time, nothing exciting is coming up, and you're just kind of going through the motions. But when you start planning for stuff and having things come up, then you're probably more apt to start a budget. The idea is to keep up the budget, right? Because
Yeah.
if you said, you know what, it's kind of like weight loss, and I always use that reference. It's kind of like, you know what, I'm going to Jamaica in April. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to take my vitamins. I'm going to pay this personal trainer because I'm going to Jamaica in April and I want to wear my bathing suit. Right now, that's not my goal because the beach is going to get what I'm giving it. But with your budget, you want to plan for things like that. Put some excitement in it. Get some ideas around, who you want to be. What is the life you want to live? Because at the end of the day, the end goal is not necessarily the money. The end goal is the life you want to live. And so there's a couple ways we have to start thinking about what budgeting will do for us. The first thing we want our budget to do is help us get to a place of financial independence. What's financial independence, Saran? You got your 3 to 6 months of emergency money saved in a safe place where it is earning some interest and it will provide for you when you need it, right? Then you want to get to a place of, you know what? You did financial independence. You want to get financial freedom. Now you might have a year worth of money and you got some investments rocking on the side. You're preparing to do some other big things. Your kids are you got everything set up for the things. You got your retirement plan is rolling. You where you need to be, right? Then you want to get to financial freedom. What's financial freedom? Well, everyone may define it differently, but financial freedom is, guess what? I call it, I won't use the curse, FU money. You ain't got, if I was working somewhere and I got my FU money, you ain't, okay, whatever you say, keep on typing. I might start acting like Noodles the Pooch out that joint, right? From Instagram. But the thing is that financial freedom is really not about the money. It's about control of your time, control of your location, right? Control of what you get to do. And so there's a real formula to get there. But you got to go through the phases. Anyone, and I love it when somebody says, you meet with them like, oh, what's your goal? Well, I want to be rich. Well, what's your definition of rich?
Yeah.
Well, I want to be wealthy. Well, what's your definition of wealthy? Because, we have today so much things in our face, right? And you got 25-year-olds, 28-year-olds flashing a Lamborghini on Instagram that they probably just stood next to. I mean, I don't know, whatever. Right. And it could be theirs. I ain't hating, right? If that's your thing. But think about this. Think about the billionaires that you see in the news, the billionaires that you see doing whatever it is. And ask yourself, did they spend that kind of money to look rich? The people who spend the money to look rich aren't rich.
That's right.
And so I'm not knocking it because if that's your thing, that's your thing. But consider it in your comings and goings. You could be sitting next to the millionaire next door or living next to the millionaire next door and never know it because they're living a regular life. They're not showing it off. They don't have to prove it to anyone else, right? People who are in that place, they don't have a need to prove it. They just do it. And so, but I say all that to say we have to really get to why we want to budget, and that will get you to do it. Why? Let's think about it. What's the pain in when you get your money, you get paid, and you have miscalculated in your head, and now your account is overdrawn. And your account's overdrawn. And if you ever overdrawn your account, you don't got to call yourself out in the chat, but give yourself a hug because it's stressful, right? I can remember the first time I overdrew an account. I sat in the bank and cried. It was 1993. I was in Petersburg, Virginia at the Central Fidelity Bank in Ettrick because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I was sitting there. I was like, well, how do I get the money back? And she was like, you don't. You owe us $200. I was like, well, $200. She's like, well, that's the overdraft fees. Well, why y'all charge me so much if you knew I didn't have the money?
And you know those banks, right? The thing that they would do, if you had a check coming, you could have had 4 small checks for $40 that they could have paid, but you also had a check for $200. They will pay that $200 check so that it will bounce 4 times, so that they will charge you 4 different sets of fees. And they got caught up on that, and there was a lawsuit about it and stuff like that. And a lot of them are trying to reduce their fees, but they are ridiculous. These banks with what they charge you, how they charge you. So you were right to cry. I
I, I told you where I was. I told you exactly what I was doing. And it
listen,
changed.
I cried a lot myself when these things had happened to me, and it didn't happen to me once, y'all. Y'all,
Well, it was college. It just kept happening, but I figured it out after that. But the thing is that now that same, I literally still have that account, but that same bank now will deposit your money or show your deposit 2 business days earlier because they already have the record from whoever was paying you if you have direct deposit 48 hours before you get it. And so they don't post anything until that day. They hold it. And so here's the thing. The banks work for the banks. You
of
work to
course.
earn your money to create financial security for you, to create safe spaces for your family and your children, to build the life that you want to live and enjoy. And the banks are making a profit.
Definitely.
So we got to figure out the what's in it for us formula and figure out how to switch it around. And in this budgeting basics is 2024. Like Aaliyah said, it's going to be December before you know it. If you know you are someone who participates heavily in Christmas gift buying, now is the time to start planning for that Christmas gift buying. Whatever, if that means buying something a little bit over time, if that's your thing, and or the old school Christmas club, or paying a card off that you know that's the only card you're going to use for Christmas, and that's how you do it. I don't know if I was doing that, but because I don't like paying interest on food, fashion, and fun. Y'all know me. I say it all the time. But at the end of the day, the thing is that what is your plan? It's the lack of a plan that doesn't get you anywhere. It used to be a time when if you wanted to go somewhere, you'd have to write down the directions before you left home. Right? Or you'd have you remember those big atlas map books?
Yep.
You have the big atlas map book. Now
Thomas
you
Guide.
don't even have to plan so much. You get in your car, you put the address in your phone, or you
Yep.
put the address in your car, and the car almost drives itself there.
Yep.
But the thing is that's the same. You still have to have a plan for where you're going. You have to know what your destination is, and if you never really get to the destination, then that's because you didn't have a plan. And that's what's happening with our money. I meet with so many people and they say, well, I had planned, I wanted to be able to pay for my kids to go to college. Well, now I'm meeting with you and your kid is 16 and you have $1,000 for college and we got 2 years. How aggressive do you want to be? Right?
You know what?
And at the end of the day, let me make this point. When that child goes to college, things have changed.
Yeah.
You can't say that child's going to go to college and there's going to be grants. The grants are this much and the loan opportunity is this much. The first thing, as soon as they run out of the little bit of grant money they're going to give you, they start offering you student loan applications. They offer your parents student loan applications. They don't care who's getting in debt. And I saw a meme one time that said, who thought it was a good idea to give an 18-year-old $40,000, a $40,000 loan with no job,
Yep.
no income, no credit, and only future prospects of making money? That's mathematical genius because they've already estimated that when you graduate college, you're going to make so many millions of dollars over the next 30 or 40 years working that why can't I get 1 or 2 of those millions of dollars that they're going to make the rest of their lives? Yep. We don't find our money, but everybody else does.
It's by design. It's by design, even keeping us not thinking, right? When we're not thinking, we're not evaluating, we are not analyzing, we're not going deep. It's by design, the whole thing, right? The entire thing is by design, right? Mm-hmm. That making that plan that you talk about is absolutely important. It allows us to allocate money for our necessities, our savings, and discretionary spending, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're able to adjust, review, adapt, right, to whatever the change in financial circumstances that we have, mm-hmm. you know. Mm-hmm. But who would have thought that talking about the boring budget would be this exciting? I mean, this is awesome, awesome, awesome information. I am enjoying it. I'm loving it. You know, um, it's lots of food for thought. Lots
Yeah.
of food for thought. And
And you
Mhm.
know
I'm
what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say this. There are people that are out there that are listening to this that's realizing, that really does apply to me. They're not going to tell us. They're not going to
Right,
tell
right, right.
somebody else
They're
because
gonna
nobody
DM us.
wants to admit, right? Nobody wants to admit that they're not doing something. It's just like the life insurance. By the way, make sure you put in the budget life insurance. It's a necessity. It's the foundation, but they don't want to admit that, right? They don't want people to know that, so they will never say it. They will
Mhm.
never bring it out there. But we're going to keep talking about it because we know that someone needs to hear this. You know how the memes go? I don't know who needs to hear this, but that's our the title tonight. I don't know who needs to hear this, but here you go.
Right. You know what? Your financial goal that you had 10 years ago could be different today. So the goal that I had 10 years ago, because I was married and had somebody else with me, and then when you realize, oh, I don't have anybody else. They died. Now I'm the head of this. So I got
Mhm.
to plan for me and create my own budget and make sure that the business that I run is stable. I also sit down and think, now I started the spreadsheet because I was doing so much business, and was it worth it? And you have to do activities that create income and money so that you could stay on your budget.
Yeah.
I do a lot of, and I'm going to just say, I do a lot of internet surfing and just playing around and looking at stuff. I gotta stop that. Life insurance is super important. That's why somebody asked, why is
Yeah.
life insurance
I was gonna
important?
answer Stacy.
Why is life insurance important?
So listen,
Well,
Stacy. I know Stacy. Stacy, what's
oh,
up?
really?
Stacy, it's important because it can be the thing that will save your life. Considering most people think about life insurance as the thing you only need if you're going to die. It's the thing you need because you're going to live. And so there are tools that are built inside of life insurance that will provide you with benefits while you're living if you need it. It is something that can be the gap between your health insurance and your savings account if something goes wrong. If you're in a car accident and your your health insurance is only going to pay for medical bills, but you can't work, you ran out of sick leave, paid family leave is only so many weeks, you're out of short-term disability, long-term disability, but you need to pay your bills. That can be the difference between money. And for people who think, oh, I'll just apply for disability on Social Security, Social Security can take 18 to 24 months, right? And yes, Stacy, long-term care does have that, but most people never even get
They don't.
long-term care.
They don't.
And so
They
you
don't.
have to make sure that's why those things are important. Long-term care is technically insurance, Stacy. And so those are why those things are important. For some people, they think about it for wealth building, but most of the time it's really thinking about what you have going on in your life living that you should consider a different types of life insurance and long-term care and your health care, because those things matter, right? And I hear you. You don't own a home, right, Stacey? I get it, but what happens if you don't have money to pay your rent in the state of Maryland?
What
You
happens?
You know what?
you're
I
out by the 30th of that month.
You what?
You're out by the 30th of that month. And so I get it. And so it has a bunch of different ways, and it's hard to explain it specifically. Yes. And so, Stacy, I think we can look at that. You can do long-term care, but most people don't even think about long-term care until they're too sick to get it, and it's too expensive, right? So if someone waits till they're 50 or 60 to think about long-term care, and now they don't have two or three things jump up on them, now it becomes inaffordable. The best time to buy long-term care is probably in your 20s when it's super inexpensive and you don't have any of those things that would say, hey, what's going on with you? It's a risk because it's insurance. They're going to underwrite you as a risk category to see how much it costs. and for long-term care for women in particular, because
Yeah.
we have the joy of living so long. If God forbid we have any of those ailments that the long-term care will cover, they're looking at covering you for a very long time. So that's why it gets more expensive. But great
Listen,
question, Stacy. Thanks for engaging.
yeah, and you know what? It's absolutely important, the some of the um uh points that Stacy made,
Yeah.
because listen, I was speaking with a 69-year-old client yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 months it's going to be 70,
Oh wow.
and I was talking to him about planning, estate planning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And making sure that the assets that he has are protected, right? And he actually said to me, well, I'm not, I said, because nursing home, payments for nursing home, or payments for someone to come in the home and take care of you. He said, I'm not worried about that because Medicaid is going to pay for it. And that is absolutely not true. Now, they will after you have exhausted all of your money.
Uh-huh.
After when you are just about in the poorhouse, that's when they're going to come. And now you don't have any control. It's where they say you can go. That's why it's absolutely important to plan for long-term care, and plan for, even if you don't have long-term care, to at least have a life insurance policy, because it's the type that I'm talking about. It's not the one that only pays if you die. Right?
Right, right,
Which
right.
type do you have? The new kind or the old kind? The one that pays only if you die? And so people that don't have children or don't own a home may say, well, I don't need that. I don't have a home. I don't have children. I don't own a home. No, and I have accumulated a massive amount of money that can last me. But you
Mm-hmm.
didn't think about long-term care and how fast that money can go when you are chronically ill or need a nursing home. It's about, I don't want to lie, because I looked at the statistics like a couple of weeks ago, somewhere in the midst of $40,000-$50,000 a year for your care.
That's
And
like
so
four. That's like four $3,500 to $4,000 a month, right? And that's just the base cost, and it doesn't account for any other ancillaries. And the thing that we don't think about is, and I'm gonna say, we listen to the talking heads on TV who don't look like us, and they're not us. And we're single women, and living in a community, and we need protection. I would have to say that honestly, the single Black woman with no children is probably the one who needs the most protection, because there's no family to surround her and take care of her, potentially, that with children and grandchildren to take care of her. You need to have your finances. So if you do need care, you need to have the finances and the planning available. So if you do need care, it's there. If you're lucky enough to be in that situation and have siblings and nieces and nephews and things like that can participate, great. But no, none of us want to prepare for a life where we are in a home and we're alone. But we have to think about all the different options, right? And making sure that you have money in a time when you can't work anymore, or may not be cognitively able to do anything, and making sure your stuff is cared for, and having someone set up as a trustee. And maybe we should do some type of additional estate planning, but having a trustee lined up for you to take care of you. And I know I called out the single woman, but guess what? Married women, you all live just as long, and our husbands don't live as long as we do.
they live even longer.
Right. And we have to make sure these things, and these things should be in your budget.
That's right. And can I say something?
We should be budgeting for our future. And I want
Right.
you to come in.
Let me say something. So even as a business owner, so let's say, you got your little budget over here as a regular person. As a business owner, I see this all the time. I deal with business owners. I deal with people who are on Medicare, and I see this all the time. They didn't budget for the time that they are on Medicare and cannot work. Their medications are super expensive. A business owner has to budget. If something happens to the business owner who is the head of the company, this is real life. This is real life. This happened to me. Real life. We didn't realize my dad was he was the company. Well, he died, and so we didn't budget for how to keep the company, 75 employees, working, businesses, buildings. How do we keep this going? And that's what succession planning goes into that budget. When you're a business owner, I don't care how small it is, how small the business is. It could be a one-man shop. Recently, I had another close friend of mine had the same issue, passed away before he budgeted as to what's going to happen to his business. And now his business, what he built up, his name, his reputation is just in the wind somewhere.
Right.
Gone. So there's so many things that budgeting can help, and life insurance could have solved all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. It could, a big life insurance policy, a couple million could have solved our issues. We had small, because at the time you're African American, nobody was selling you, $2-3 million life insurance policies at that time, so it's just, you got to think about things. The older you get, the bigger your business gets, the more life insurance you need. If your key person passes away, you got to budget. Oh, wait a minute. I should have had a policy on that key person. There's so many, I can't tell you, stress enough about budgeting for things, especially if you are trying to build your business like everybody's doing online. They want to be self-employed. They want to be, they want to be rich in whatever rich is in their mind. But as your money grows and as your employee grows, you have more employees, you have more responsibility. A serious budget will help you make it through. And if something should happen to your key person, your vice president, you're the president of the company. I just saw something where these people were celebrating in India. I think it was in India. They were celebrating. Super huge company. They grew it. The owners were in some kind of a cage celebrating. It fell down, dropped, killed the man. Who budgeted for that? What do you do?
That's terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
No, the first thing I thought about is what the liability. What happens to this huge company that they're celebrating 20 years of being in business for? What happens? Did they budget? And that's the kind of things I think about. Did they budget for what happens if he passes away? Is there a life insurance policy? How are the people going to get paid? What about the bank accounts? There's so many different things that you have to think about when somebody passes away. I'm sorry I brought that up, but
Let's
circle all the way back to the budget, because I don't even want to talk about that case.
The budget.
I thought I was weird. I thought I was the only one that thought about that when I see someone pass away, especially if they had children or a business owner or whatever. I'm like, what? I wonder if they had life insurance. I wonder if they had enough life insurance. I wonder if they had adequate life insurance.
That's what I think.
And I, a lot of times I'm like, I should go talk about it. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say this because, it almost seems as if you are using the unfortunate situation to try to tell people something. But, sometimes we have to do that. We have to really bring it to whatever. And I'm just going to say this. Listen, you don't want to talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me about life insurance, don't, but make sure that your family don't come asking me about where was your life insurance?
Where's the policy?
You her best friend. So, but when someone passes away, they're not really looking for the lawyer. They're looking for the insurance broker with the check. So don't let me have to tell your family that you didn't have one and I can't give them a check. And oh, by the way, budget, because I'm not budgeting anything for your GoFundMe.
Well, with that, ladies, it's 50. I'm not messing with Carmen. So, but the whole idea today is that we want to really, again, if we don't look at a budget, we don't know what's missing.
Yep.
We don't know, we don't think about all those things. I know I had one client that I work with very closely, and I looked at their budget and I asked this question. I said, have you renegotiated some of these costs? And they were like,
Right.
oh no. I said, well, guess what? Give them a call, see if you can renegotiate, because in their situation, they were really just trying to save more money, right? And so that they can get to the investment portion. So of course I showed them how to redirect. And I said, well, we could be redirecting more if you talk to these people, and we know they'll give you a deal if you just, call them a couple times and negotiate, tell them you might leave, right? Shut the front door, Stacy. Listen, tell them you might leave, then they might offer you the retention offer for a year or two, but giving yourself a reprieve to have extra money to focus on the savings that will go to investing, that will go to your wealth building, right?
Can you explain that again? I know I'm following you, but for
Okay.
those that
For
you
those in the back.
renegotiate
So
what?
we'll use an example like this beautiful cellular telephone that we talk on
Okay,
all the
yes,
time, right? So you
definitely.
call the cellular telephone company and you say, hey, I was looking at my bill. It's a little more expensive than I'd like. I was thinking about changing companies and going somewhere else. And they're gonna, the first operator can't help you. You need to get to the next office, to the manager, or to the retention office, and then say, hey, I was thinking about it. What can you do? And they may offer you, hey, well, we'll see if we can get you down 10%, 20%, whatever the offer is, right? I don't know what they're offering right now. Whatever the offer is, and you can renegotiate. And then go ahead, if you like to negotiate and haggle, go ahead and say, all right, well, can we do that for 2 years instead of one? All they can do
Okay.
is tell you yes or no.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a 15-minute phone call that you can make while you make dinner to see if they'll give you a better rate, right? Now,
Listen,
don't get
you
me
are
wrong. I use an example of something that also has a little bit of debt attached to it, because most of the companies are putting us in debt for 36 months for our phones, and then our phone has to be replaced in 24 months. So we
Yeah.
continually stay in debt for the equipment. But that's just an example, right? You may even contact. I know at one point years ago, I renegotiated my property tax on my home. This was during the time when the market was down in like 08, 09-ish. I renegotiated my entire property tax, and I got my property tax cut in half because the property value went down. So why am I paying tax on something that's not valued at that amount? But I took the
right.
time to research it to see what it was. And oh, by the way, my property value went down, and I can go and get my homeowner's insurance down. All right, great. Now I can go look at a lot of people cut the cord on cable, that if that's their thing. Some people that they can't live that life. But it's about creating the space that you're going to feel happy. None of what I'm saying is meant for you to go and do and for you to be miserable doing it. If you feel like I'm going to be miserable calling these people, asking them to give me a better deal, then don't do it. Do what makes you happy. But the thing is to really start to think about, how can I be better in this world that I'm living, in this life that I'm having, and how can money help me do it? Because at the end of the day, that's all money is the tool that we need. And so the budget is the management vehicle to manage the tool that we're using to create the life that we're here to experience based on our existence in this lifetime.
And this is real life. This is real life. There's some other things that you can do if you actually just pay your bills. Many people will give you a humongous discount for either paying it in advance or paying it debiting it, having them debit it. I know for a fact I pay $30 less a month, and that is $360 a year, just because I let them take the money out of my account. I was
Yeah,
gonna
no, I
just
don't
pay
do
them.
that. You
I
can't
was
just
gonna
come
pay
in.
them anyway.
You
No, that
can't just be coming up and through my account and taking money out.
but I pay it electronically. You understand where it's
Yeah.
where you make the people do that with, if you pay your student loans electronically, they lower the points of the interest. That's money that you're saving. That's big money you're saving.
Yeah.
When you pay your car insurance, right? If you're able to budget to a point where you're paying your car insurance 6 months in advance, you can be actually earning 10% on your money, 10 and 15% on your money. You're not going to get that in a bank, So the poor people, when you're poor, or when you're not budgeting to see what is going on, you end up spending more. You end up paying more right?
Because
You
you're
end
not
up
thinking
doing
about it.
more.
It's not top of mind, right? Stacy said, and if you work from home, you can you can absolutely renegotiate your car insurance. As a matter of fact, car insurance is probably the easiest thing to get the price down, because you can go and get quotes from all of them. And it's going to take a little bit of time. They even have some tools where you can compare it, but don't be too chinchy on the car insurance, because if you get in an accident, you wanted to pay,
Yeah, you
right?
want them to pay.
So you don't want to make that mistake, right? But at the end of the day, you want to be thinking about negotiating any benefit, that anything that could benefit you, where you can redirect the money so you can enjoy life with the money. That's really the biggest takeaway we want you to take from the budget. The goal is to know where your money's coming from, know where your money's going to, have control of the ins and outs, so that you can decide how it comes in, how it goes out. And if the going out is all miserable, figure out a way to carve some joy back into your life, right? To carve some fun into it. Now, there's lots of ways to have free fun if you're at a point where your budget just doesn't allow it. But we have a whole wide audience of people here who have plenty money, but you're in the six figure club, you got all the things, but your budget's zero. You get paid on Friday, and on Friday you don't have any more money, right?
Broke on Monday.
As one of our as one of the greats, as the one of the greats, Lynn Richards says on her thing, she said, "Look, I was checked the Monday, right?" And so the thing is that we want you to be in a place where when you get paid on Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is, when you get to that day, it shouldn't be that's the day that your account zeroes out again, right? We want to get you in a place where you're comfortable, right? And so thinking about just doing some of these little things, it's not like you got to take this and go do all of it in one day. But that's the piece too. At the end of the day, Karma's going to make you an offer to work with one of us at some point. But at the end of the day, it is up to you. I can give you the information. I can create the reports to get you out of debt. I can show you the plan to build wealth. I can show you the path to get yourself from financial independence to financial financial independence to financial freedom to financial wealth to financial freedom. But if you don't take the path, then it doesn't matter. I was just talking to the wrong person, or to the person who wasn't ready now, because you might be ready 10 years from now, but I told you this today. And so, and it's no hard feelings, but sometimes we hear stuff today and we hear it, but we're blocking it because our own walls are up, and our own preconceived notions about ourselves and who we are and who we aren't are keeping us from taking action to go out there. But at the end of the day, if you are born onto this earthly plane through God's grace, you're in this universal space, and came here abundance. It's your job to reach up and get it, and budget it and manage it and create the life that you want to live.
Yeah, you know what else our budget might enable us to understand? It might enable us to understand that we need another source of income. And if that's you, and you need another source of income, you can connect with us, because we show you how to create another source of income, how to bring in another source of income. And you can do it from home so that you can change your car insurance. But by the way, if you're going to drive that car for business and you get in an accident and they can figure out that you were on business, your car insurance people may cancel you. So don't do that. But
let them know you're doing business.
Your budget might make you realize that you actually need to bring in some more money. My mom used to say this: you cannot get blood from a stone. So now no matter how much you twist and turn it, you might need to bring in another source of income. And if that's you, connect with one of us. Aaliyah Sherrod, the healthcare queen. Saran, join Saran.com. Carmen, I'm at CarmenK.com. Aaliyah, I think, is at meetaaliyah.com.
No, it's Aaliyah 10K or something like that.
Meetaaliyah.com. We're here, the Millionaire Ladies Mob. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We don't dance. Well, sometimes.
I don't dance on TikTok.
No.
We're on TikTok. We're on all of these different platforms. Connect with us and see how we can help you do what we do. Because at the end of the day, what we do is super important, and there's not enough people doing it, or not enough people doing it right. And so we would like for you to join us. I can't believe, like I said, the quote unquote boring budget conversation, and we've been on here for more than an hour. So Aaliyah, Saran, why don't you take us out of here?
Let's wrap it up like Saran. Well, listen, it's been a joy having you here with us live. Be sure to share, like, follow, join the movement. We're going to be dropping some new stuff coming up. We're going to be probably having some master classes on Zoom because we're all over. Carmen's in Georgia. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. Aaliyah's in Arizona.
Arizona.
I got to remember because you don't move around. Arizona. And so we want to bring this information to you to make sure and to be able to get up and whiteboard some things and give you some real examples so that you can really get a hold of your money in 2024. So look for that. But please go to millionaireLadiesMob.com and you can connect with any one of us on that link. And we will see you here virtually. Carmen is live every Wednesday at 8:30. I'm live every Monday at 8:30. Aaliyah, you're live on
Fridays. Starting this Friday.
Friday, what time?
8.
At 8. Fridays at 8. And as a matter of fact, in February, I'm going to be dropping a brand new podcast where I'm interviewing women and men from all over the United States, talking about the power of money and how to just have an incredible life with finance and how they went from chaos to calm in their finances. So look for that in February, but we're really excited to be here with you. Next month is February, and that month is all about the love. And so we're going to be focused on finances and love, because you know what? The top two things people want to talk about? They want to talk about love and they want to talk about money. And they'll go together, especially when you get married and you're in a relationship. So come on back in February, and we're here the second and fourth Thursday of every month at 8:30 p.m. But we'll be sending you emails to remind you, for those of you who are on our email list. For those of you who are not, go ahead and get on the list. Go to the page and get connected so you can be in the know. But with that, we are out.
We are out.
We are out.
Millionaire Ladies Mob, we love you. We'll see you out in the virtual world. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.